So now that we all have our own new pieces of paper out and we're all back in our seats, we are all going to come up with an independent story. So this independent story is going to be written on a sheet of paper and turned in on the back table when you are finished. So what we're going to do here is we're going to think back on the lesson today. Think back, what are the parts of the story? The story has a beginning and a middle and an end. The beginning of the story introduces what's about to happen. It introduces the story's characters, the setting, and just the story as a whole. It kind of sets us up for what's going to happen and what we're going to learn from the story. The middle of the story has the major events and the major challenges that happen to the characters. So this is where there might be a problem or there might just be something really big happening that we want to pay attention to. The end of the story is where we get that sense of relief. We get the sense of closure or the feeling of, whew, okay, the story's coming to an end. So this is the end of the story, and that is our story structure. Those three things can be told in a written story, it can be told in a movie, it can be told in a song, which is what we talked about today. So later this week, you are going to get to work on creating a song. But today I want us to focus on creating a story so that we have a solid understanding of what creating a story with a clear beginning, middle, and end looks like and feels like. So what we're going to do today is I have some directions for you so that I can read them and say them aloud. So first, you're going to get a new piece of paper, and we've already done that part. We can check number 1 off. Number 2, you're going to write B-M-E at the top of your paper. B stands for beginning, M stands for middle, and E stands for end. So go ahead and label the tops of your paper with B, M, and E. Once you've done that, give me a thumbs up. Awesome, thank you so much. We're gonna move on to number 3. Now you're going to work by yourself to tell a story with a beginning and a middle and an end. And I want you to make the beginning, middle, and end of your story as clear as possible. It can be a story that has happened to you before, it can be a story that you make up, or it can be a story that you know has happened to someone else. Just make sure that your story has a clear beginning, middle, and end. The beginning of your story is going to go underneath the B column on your paper. The middle of the story is going to go underneath the M column on your paper, and the end of your story is going to go underneath the E column on your paper. Once you have written your story and you are sure that you have a clear beginning, middle, and end, you're going to take that piece of paper and place it on my back table. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to take those home with me. I'm going to read them, and I'm going to hear all about your amazing stories, and I'm going to give you feedback or information about your work so that you can use that feedback later this week when you are doing another activity that is going to be so fun with the music teacher at our school. So go ahead and get out your papers and write your beginning, middle, and end stories. So while the students are doing this, I'll kind of be circulating around the room to help with my special learner who has dyslexia, kind of checking in on him and making sure that he would be comfortable with the situation, make sure he understands the directions. Other than just checking on the special learner, I'll also be checking on the other students to check for understanding and to make sure that they know what they're doing. If they have any questions, they can let me know. And then as the students start turning in their papers on my table, I'm going to have them sit down with a book and read that book and just start thinking about the beginning and middle and end of that story as they're reading. This can kind of show students that a lot of different things and methods of receiving stories can come in many different ways. So you can talk about a story, you can read a story in a book, you can watch a story in a movie, you can listen to a story in a song, just to make sure that students know that stories don't have to just come from pencil and paper. They can come from so many other things, and I think that's a really important takeaway from this music integration lesson, is teaching students that we can learn things from a song that tells us a story in the same way that we can learn things from a book or a movie or whatever else it may be. So that would be the end of the lesson, is the students going ahead and turning in those stories that they've written with their beginning, middle, and end. And then overnight, as I was telling the students, I would take those pieces of paper home. I would review those pieces of paper so that I know where the students stand, and I would provide direct, specific feedback that tells the students which areas they are already having a strength in, which areas they can grow in some ways that we can grow in those areas of growth and work on those areas of strength together so that they can become an even better storyteller, and so that they also have a clearer picture of what the assignment at the end of the week with the music teacher, where they create a song, will look like. This is a great way for them to practice telling a story on pencil and paper and getting feedback to know which areas they're doing really well in and which areas they could do a little more work in before they get to that performance-based assessment and the formal assessment at the end of the week with the music specialist. So that is all of my lesson. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of whatever day that you are watching this. Thank you.